Okay, so we got a few people in the house now. I guess we'll start. I start all my speeches, and it's like shamasha, shamasha, shamasha. That's a memory from my dad. He was known as the Jack guitar in our community. He had dark brown eyes and dark skin. And my name is Daphne March. I'm a strong Mi'kmaq woman here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And it's my honor and privilege to be here at the Recovery 2.0 community today. I grew up in a small community in Gillam, in Newfoundland called Gillams. I was born January 1st, 1965. To a family, when people ask me, what I grew up or what's my family like, I said, well, like the royal family, you're born into royalty. Well, I was born into addictions. From the get-go, I was with so much codependence, alcoholism, and was so accepted. My dad, he was so much racism around. He was indigenous, and he lived off the land. He didn't go to school not a day in his life. So it was a lot of shame around that for me growing up. My mom, her family was involved with colonialism a lot earlier than my dad's family was. So she came from a family of merchants. So she had a lot of religious, like the programming of religious Anglican church, that kind of thing. So when she came into this marriage with my father, she married beneath him. So at Christmas time, when we would go to my grandmother's house for Christmas, everybody get invited, but my father wasn't included. So as I grew up, I was a very busy little girl, but I was also given a lot of opportunities in a way of working the land with my dad. I would be out skidooing, sitting snares, getting rabbits, getting wood, delivering food, groceries, because my mom, she had a business in the Bay of Islands in Gillams. And so we had a store. So as soon as I was young enough to put my head over the counter, I was serving the public, and I loved it. My dad, well, he would, two of them together would have this business and would work really, really good. But my dad, like I said, he started with alcohol all his life. And my mom, well, she had such a problem with codependence, control, judgment, what people think of us and what not they didn't think of us, that kind of way. Why don't you be like them? Why not you like that? So I remember one Christmas I got a D for Christmas. And on the D was little diamonds that came down on one side and the D. So people ask me, to this little blonde little girl, green eyes, what did that mean? And I would, big smile on my face, be delighted to say, oh, it means Daphne. And then someone said, no, it means devil. You're like the devil. Okay. So it kind of hurt my spirit in a lot of ways, soft-heartedness and stuff like that. So when we go to bed nighttime, we say our prayers. And at the very end of our prayers, it would say, God bless everybody except the devil. So secretly, I'd say, well, I'm the devil. Like, I cannot be lovable. I can't be. So I really took on that role and confused about, if I'm the devil, I'm not lovable. I'm not, that kind of way. And it really affected me even to this day, really. So then it was an accident. My sister tried to commit suicide. And the whole thing was covered up. I was put in custody of the police, and my mom and dad and the police all worked together. That was nothing done of it. We never got no treatment, was nothing, don't mention it anymore, that kind of way. So I went to school, and that year I didn't do anything in school at all. So, but they couldn't do anything to me. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. I was in grade 5. So what they did, well, what can we do with her? She's not something wrong, but we'll put her in with the children that cannot read or write, or they were delayed in a lot of ways. And I tell you what, that really affected me, because it's later on, I got the label off, I was stupid. So I wore that armor, and I didn't do anything else in school. So when I got to high school, we got grade 10, grade 11, it was running grade 11 in Newfoundland at that time, where people were getting ready to go to university or go on to secondary school. And they said, well, you're not smart enough to go to university or anything. Well, you know, well, what can I do then? Like, I don't know, what would I do? They said, well, what about you do barbering, right? So at that time, wasn't very many women that was barbering. I said, well, okay, I'll do it, right? So I did it, I loved it. So that was really good. So I was involved with this guy, and he was very abusive. We used to do a lot of alcohol, a lot of mushrooms, acid, all those things that was really kind of familiar with me, that I really loved, but I knew it was something not right. I didn't trust that life, whatever. But I had so much codependence on this man, a boyfriend, that I didn't know how to be in the world. So finally, this guy broke up with me, thank God. And I moved out of Gillam's, and we went into the city, and I went to work as a barber, and I was very good at it. And I had a lot of barriers that I had to break through too, because I was a young woman. I had no confidence. I was in a strange city that was really judgmental on me, because I was a woman cutting hair, and the men and all that. So the men I got friends with, and they become my drinking buddies. So at the local bar, I get all dressed up, I go out, I would go drinking with the guys. So my life was basically work, and then on the weekends will be the binge drinking. And I basically didn't do anything but that. Sleep in bed, get up, get drunk, sleep, that kind of way. I got away from, I used to dabble a bit in the weed, acid. I didn't touch anymore. I knew that was too scary for me. I just did it because this boyfriend wanted me to do it with him. That's the only reason. I was scared. I didn't want that life, that kind of way. So but my family, I was still connected with my family, the drama triangle, of it all, trying to rescue this one, trying to be this, be that. I was different than everyone else now. I came outside, but I wasn't. I was still struggling big time. But the world didn't know that. It didn't look like that way. So I went outside myself so much to get that comfort, but it didn't work for very long. So finally, I met this man that moved to the city, and he was taken up with my spirit, of the liveliness and things like that. So I said, well, you know what? I'll, want to get married and that kind of way. So I thought, you know what? Well, why not? Why not get married? I won't last, but I'll get married. This guy is great for me because he's always busy. He's never here. I can still do my lifestyle, drinking and getting up in the bed and staying in bed and getting up, that kind of rhythm that I had going on. This is good. So anyway, we got married. My dad was in on the 4th floor in a psychiatric hospital at that time. We got married. We moved to the house that I grew up in, next door to my parents. So I'm back into that triangle big time. And I got pregnant on my honeymoon. Wow. So that really, I did not plan that. And I was like, why am I going to do with a baby? What about, I can't drink anymore? Well, what? So this beautiful baby was born. I didn't know what to do with this baby. My mom and everybody was all excited about this baby. I married this engineer. Oh, I had a life. I had it all going on, that kind of way. And I just was going with the flow. What is going on? I didn't know what to do. So got married, and it was the same thing. Was like I nursed my baby until he's 6 months old, went back to work, went back to the rhythm of drinking weekends, that kind of way. My mother would look into the baby, and I was still back to the same way, getting back into more of this drinking, that lifestyle, that kind of way. And then be all kinds of drama around and all this kind of stuff. I'll be all involved with that. It was just all this suffering going on all the time, but we didn't know any different because that's the way we grew up. It was okay. So finally we moved to St. John's, which was about 8-hour drive, and I was on my own out here. So everything is going to be perfect now. I moved to a new place. You know, I got this new baby. I got this husband that makes a lot of good money. I got a beautiful house. I got a beautiful car. This is all wonderful. For not very long, I went back to that rhythm again. My husband was gone all the time. I was home, lonely. I was with this baby. I was trying to help do this baby, and you know, I was so isolating myself. I was still living in St. John's, but still into the drama that was going on in my community with my family. You know, it was just a catch up all the time that I didn't know what was going on. I was just living in shambles, dysfunction, that kind of way. But then, you know, Stephen got to be a teenager, and things really changed for me. This beautiful young spirit boy that was told that he was just like his mother. Uh-oh. So, well, that means he's like his father, grandfather, which was the Jack guitar. Remember that story? So his spirit was so lovely, and it was just everything. So anyway, he got involved with hockey, and his father really wanted him to be this professional hockey star. He was training, he had a trainer, you know, all this thinking that you do. And one day I just sitting on the bleachers watching this kid, and he was taking himself out of the game. So I went to my husband and said, my goodness, Stephen is losing his mental strength. He's taking himself out of the game. You should go to the trainer and see. So, oh, no, that happens, you know, that kind of way. Before I knew it, we were getting calls from the school that Stephen is involved with really a lot of unhealthy things, that kind of way. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to save my son. I did this, I did that. And I was just like a nightmare going around like a mad woman. I got to, you know, save my son. And this is not fair. This is this one's fault and that one's fault. And it was just like the judgment and oh, it was just a nightmare. I was just suffering like anything. So by then it got really bad. And Stephen had to leave the house, and I was just still drinking and that kind of way. And then we start working with it. He sort of want to get help. So we got some help. And finally I admit to this social worker that I was drinking. I have a problem. And well, what are you going to do with it? I stopped drinking, but I still had the isms after drinking. And I suffered so much without no program, with no support, just the alcohol was gone. And I had everything else that was going, trying to control Stephen, this problem and all those things. I had another little girl at the time, and was just, and my husband was gone most of the time and all that kind of stuff. So I suffered a lot, and so did my children under that regime, I would say. So anyway, Stephen ended up going to rehab. Well, gee, Stephen's going to rehab. He finally got it going. Well, I'm going to be okay now. The alcohol is gone, and this is going to be great. Well, Stephen went to rehab, and I'm like, why am I feeling so shitty now? I should be happy. My son is in rehab. But the codependence was so bad that I didn't understand it. So the alcohol is gone, so now I should be good. But instead, the residuals of the trauma, the residuals of the triangle, the dramas, everything else, of the shame, of all those things, were all catching up to me. So Stephen went to rehab. So we were doing programming, and I was starting to learn a lot about it. And this is really good. So I started doing lots of counseling and talk therapy and all this kind of things and all that. But I wasn't getting any better. I was still really, really suffering. So one day somebody said to me, "Do you know about this book called Recovery 2.0?" I said, "No, I don't know about this book, Recovery 2.0. So, well, I should get it for Christmas. So, okay, I said to my husband, because we don't buy gifts before Christmas for, you know, someone got to give you the gift kind of way. So I asked for for the book, Recovery 2.0 for Christmas, and I got it. So I started looking through it, and I was reading a little bit of here and a bit of that. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like this sounds like a lot like my story is like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, like this guy got, you got a recipe to this. Like this is going to help my son. So I said to my husband at the time, I said, you know what, wherever this man is in the world, I want to meet him. I want to see if this is real or this is all about money or what it is. And my husband laughed and he said to me, he said, Daphne, I just hope that he's not in India. Anyway, about 3 months later, I was off to Kampala to meet Tommy Rosen. So knapsack and back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just had the motivation now. This is great to see if I'll get some help. I need a teacher and all this stuff. So excited. So I go to Kampala, and the first morning, Tommy and Nikki Myers, all of them were up there, and Tommy did the session. I'll never forget it. And I was reading the back of the room by myself with 100 people in the room. And he did this breath of fire thing that he always done at the time. And I did it. And it was the first time that I ever felt like silence kind of way. And I was like, what in the hell is this? So it really screwed me up. So I said, I got to go to the water. So I went down, I went canoeing, and when I came back, Tommy and everybody was on the beach. And I said, well, I might go over and meet this man, face to face. But something was on my shoulder saying, oh, you're not good enough. What do you think you are? That kind of way. And I'm like, well, go away, go away. I am good enough. And so finally I beat it down to self-doubt and all that, and went over and asked to sit down with Tommy and them. And I told Tommy what I just told you. I'm here to see if this is real or not. So from that day on, was a student of Recovery 2.0. And I came back, and I think right after that May was the Recovery 2.0 coaching program. I did that, and I lived it and I studied it. And I did whatever I could with the strength I had. I learned so much about food. I learned about yoga, meditation, and all this kind of stuff. So I had the recipe now, I figured. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to save the world. So the world was pretty big, I found out. and I knew all the answers. And I keep telling Stephen, he came home from rehab. And I said, Stevie, this, you got to do this, this, this. You got to start working with Tommy Rosen. You got to do this and all that. Of course, he wasn't ready for all of that. So the codependence was so bad, I continued suffering and then tried to control him, and the relationship addiction. And it was just the lack of boundaries I had. It was all this that, so I'm getting better, I guess, because I'm getting education around it, but I still didn't do my inside work that I needed to do. I was doing it for everyone else but myself. So I continued to do the Recovery 2.0 coaching programs every year, and I did every one that I could do, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about food. So little bit by little bit, I was getting better, but not my relationships, but I was getting better in education around things. I was getting that kind of way. My food changed. I let go of my smoking. I let go of the people that wasn't serving me, all those things that I let go of, which was really great. So this day, I was in the garage, and Stephen had a relapse. And of course, I was in the garage smoking cigarettes, and I want to die, basically. So this knock come out of the garage door, like really, really loud. It was a dark night, windy, raining. And I'm in there crying and smoking, and this knock comes on. And so I listened really, and he said, let me in, let me in. And so I'm working with the counselor, and the counselor says, don't go giving him any more empty threats. If you say, you got to do it. And before I even thought, I said, go away or I'm going to call the cops. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if I said it, I got to do it. And he kept knocking and whatever. So anyway, I just put the cigarette in the bottle and turned off the light and went upstairs. And I just thought I was going to die. the thoughts that he's going to hurt himself or he's going to hurt someone else or I'll never see him again. I'm an awful mother. I'm not fit. Like I want to die. On the third day, this light came in through the window. And a little voice said, what about if your son gets recovery? What are you going to do? Stay in bed? He's going to need you. And I'm like, what? So I got up that day and I never went back to bed after. So it really made a difference in my recovery, but I knew still that was something that I needed more. So I still continue working with Recovery 2.0 coaching program. And then I got the opportunity to go to Florida, not Florida, India with Tommy and the Recovery 2.0 community. So off I went. So this time I got to get the recipe. I know I'm going to get the recipe and I'm going to be able to help Stephen and all my family and way to go. So I get over to India and I'm so proud that I'm there. And we had a lot of really great sessions and I learned how to do mantras and all this. And I remember one time in particular, Tommy, I was on the yoga mat. I never did much yoga, really. So I was on the mat with everyone else. I'm trying to keep up with everyone else that did yoga probably for a long time. And I'm just down there. And Tommy comes over and he says, let your breath carry you. And I'm like, what the hell did that mean? And he's like, let your breath carry you. And he keeps saying that, right? I'm like, I ate you. I don't know why I came here, that kind of way. So anyway, it was a trip of a lifetime for me. And I took a little bit of everything and I made it kind of my own. So when I got back home in St. John's and, I got to be more in person, I guess, of the communities because I was to India, and I knew try to control everything else when I got back with my son and stuff like that. So I would start doing things outside, and Tommy gave me a mantra of Sata Nama, start doing that. And that was amazing. And doing breath work, the breath of fire was my favorite. And I start doing single hill. And on single hill I think is 145 steps. So I go over the stairs and it just came to me was the same feeling of on that mat in India. My legs were starting to burn. I want to give up. I didn't know what, and just that minute, that voice coming in my head said, let your breath carry you. And that's what I did. And I kept doing it. And every day I get up and I go do single hill and I keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So my body got stronger. My recovery got stronger. I started to look at the world a little bit different, and which made a big difference to me. I'm starting to heal. My body is starting to heal. I'm starting to connect to my body. I start to have less drama, I guess, around me kind of way, but I still doing it that, oh my goodness, one day Stephen is going to get it too. That kind of attitude that was still there. So then was another trip in November to Costa Rica. I said, well, gee, you know what? I should go to Costa Rica. I love India. I should go to Costa Rica. So went to Costa Rica and again was amazing. And my sponsor was there, Sally, that I met in India, a few people that I met in India. She was my sponsor at the time. And I was right down, I don't know if anybody here was to Costa Rica, there's the tents and then there's the little cabins. And so I was in the cabins. It was like a 10-minute walk up to the main retreat house. So this, on the third morning, I got up, had a shower in a cold shower. There's no running hot water, so it was cold shower, which was amazing. I loved it. Put on all my white gear, covered my head to start the day. I think it was daylight, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. That morning, when I stepped outside my door, my feet, I didn't used to wear shoes there. My feet, the first one is like all the trees was shaking. And then I could hear the voices of the birds and the monkeys, and was just like, wow, what is this? There's a storm going on. It was wonderful. So I was just happy, go lucky, going over the stairs, all happy, that kind of way. Gets up to the retreat house. And I was going around saying, gee, did you guys hear all the trees, and did you hear all the noise of the birds and monkeys? Isn't that awesome? Like, isn't it great? So I keep saying, and everybody would just look at me. Somebody just look at me, well, why is she so excited about this? And then one person said to me, said like, no, I've never heard there's no storm. I didn't hear much noise from the trees or monkeys this morning. And then it really came to me, it's like, oh my God, it was just me that heard that. Oh, okay, that's good. I just took it and sat down on my little umpty on the floor and sat around a circle like, we do with the Recovery 2.0 retreats, and I'll sit around. And when it was my turn to speak, which I didn't really want to speak much. I didn't used to speak much, but when I used to go to these retreats, I just, with my vocabulary and my slang and stuff, people just didn't understand. And I was shy, I guess, I don't know. So this morning I was ready to speak for some reason. So I sat down, and when I was going to speak, I fell over off the pillow on the floor. And when I got up, I was like, I've been doing all this work for my son. I wasn't doing it for me, for my recovery. And it was just like a ha moment that changed my life. So by this time, I was in recovery for a long time, but it was 2017 when this happened, and that I realized it. And I remember Tommy, which was sitting like three down, came to me. He was like, I waited for that for a long time. And everyone's seen it, but I didn't see it, And at that time, Sally, which I met in India, she said she would be my sponsor. So I start working the 12 steps, which was, that was really looking at all of our things. That was really painful for me. And that kind of way, I went back home, and I was different. I felt really different. And while I was gone, my son moved away from the province, and was all these things that was happening. Well, I guess, like we say, my case was being considered, and I think my son's was too, because everything was just moving and all that kind of thing. So when I start looking at, did the 12 steps, still continue my sadhana, my breath of fire, going out in nature, drinking my really nice teas, growing food, all this kind of stuff, I start to feel better, and I start to let go the attachments to everything of the outcome of my son, of what's going to happen is recovery. I start to have a more of a healthy relationship with him. So that kind of didn't go well with him, but I was okay with it. I was going to be okay, But then, and then so that was the 2017. A lot of things happened in that time that I start to see the world so much differently. I start working. Of course, I did the Recovery 2.0, and I really loved it with Recovery 2.0, because he used to have all these, and he still do have these amazing speakers, which would be doctors that had all this knowledge and stuff like that I couldn't learn in university, but I could learn this platform. It really made sense to me. So in 2017, 19, I went off to Vancouver, and I met with Dr. Nick, and we had blood tests done, and I got back. I was having a lot of swelling in my body. I was in a really unhealthy relationship in my marriage. My daughter, was starting to go to alcohol, and this was coming again, like this. I didn't know, this time it's different, but it's still this flurry of, my goodness, that anxiety kind of way, in some, not so much, but it was still there. So anyway, I did a lot of tests with Dr. Nick, and he gave me a lot of treatment and stuff like that. And I got stronger in my body. I understood things more, and that kind of way. So when I start doing that, everything's starting to change for me as a person, as everything around me. So then the pandemic happened, and and then I realized that I got to make a lot of changes, because I was doing all this work. I was seeing a difference, but I was still not peaceful. I was still not honoring my own self. I was not giving back to my inside work. I was still filling those gaps with other things. And I wasn't getting back the love, support that I needed. So I decided that I would file for divorce, and that gave me a lot of consequences, of course, with family and that kind of way. I start volunteering in my community. So I'm a community advocacy worker with for Indigenous people, for women. And of course, my thing is on mental health and addictions. So I'm very happy that my recovery turned out. And my codependence, I'm still learning, but codependence is such a big part, because of, I think it's because of the colonialism, what happened to my family at your early years, that it didn't get solved. And now that the universe, the world is showing us something that we really need to look at, and I'm really getting back into my culture, and it's really giving me lots of opportunities to heal and be able to give back, which is so, so beautiful. So like I said, I continue to, give back to anyone that needs support that I meet. Like whoever I come on my trails, on my hiking, I meet people, and I give back to them as support for them if they need it. I do a lot of I really connect, and I found since the pandemic and since applying for this divorce and letting go of my business and reshaping my business and all these kind of things, I really connected to Mother Earth. I find Mother Earth and the respect of that has really made a difference in who I am today, that I get this opportunity to speak. And every day I see that that my higher power is giving me the power to be who I was meant to be in the world. So with that, I want to say thank you so much to my sponsor, Sally, to Kia, which is now, I did my yoga training since the pandemic, and it's been a joy, and it's changed my life in a lot of ways. And Dr. Nick, that gave me the gift of my food and my body and how it works and the education around that. And Tommy Rosen, well, Tommy it's been, what I love about him the most is that I know how much suffering I did and the changes I made in my life. And when I see and hear his story, how much changes and how much healing that man done, I'm just honored that I got to meet him. And because of this Recovery 2.0, that I got this gift of recovery. And it fills me up, because it's a gift to the world, really. And it's been amazing. So with that, let's do the Recovery 2.0 prayer. Let's sit up straight. Take a deep breath in, close your eyes if you like, and put our hands on our heart center. Creator, put us in the places you want us to be, with the people you want us to be with, doing the things you want us to do. Thank you for the joys and challenges of our life. Shamasha, shamasha, shamasha. Thank you, everybody. I hope it makes sense.